All right, so about a week ago, Yoshi sent a message on the Discord, and the message was essentially like, hey, we don't want to share too many details yet because we're not sure exactly what's coming next and when it's coming. But some of the things that we're working on include a matchmaking update, an item update, as well as a big content update. And he even said that they're hoping to release the matchmaking update in the coming weeks. Now, in this video, I'm going to explore all the issues that I have with the current matchmaking system in Deadlock, as well as things that I think could be improved. So it's mostly going to be suggestions for what I would like to see in an eventual matchmaking / ranked update. And I would love for you guys in the comments to add your own thoughts as well, because everybody always complains matchmaking sucks, but it's always a very difficult thing to, pinpoint exactly what is going on with matchmaking, what the issue is, because it's kind of a scapegoat for any issue with the game, right? You're not having fun. You just say matchmaking sucks. My teammates are 0 and 10. Really easy to blame, really hard to know what's actually going on. So let's get into it. All right, so let's start with my first issue, which is I think that the ranked system itself needs some revisions. Now, when I mean the ranked system, I mean the badges that you get in game. So one of the biggest sources of frustration that people have when they play Deadlock, and they usually, come to me to let me know about it, is that there is no clear sense of progression, right? Like you have no idea how far or how close you are from ranking up. And as you get higher in the rank, since the rank system is percentile based, it becomes harder and harder to climb. And there's famously been like huge walls. Like, for example, Eternus 5 to Eternus 6 is like a massive wall. Ascendant 6 to Eternus 1 is also a massive wall. And all of these things are very, very unclear, and they're not communicated anywhere, right? So when you're a player and you're queuing up, you might feel like you're not really getting that sense of progression. And obviously it's a playtest, and so that sense of progression is not necessarily super important, but since they're working on it, I think that it's one of the things that could most easily be improved. Now, the solutions for improving this are pretty simple. You could either just give players an MMR number similar to Dota and show them the number going up or down, or you can give players a progress bar to the next rank that at least showcases roughly how close or far away they are from the next rank. That way, people don't feel as confused when they, rank up or down in a game, and it's a little bit more transparent. I also think that this would help contribute to, why people feel like they're losing games and not ranking up. So I've had a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, I won 5 games, rank up once. I, lose 2 games, I rank down. It makes no sense. And so that's hard to say if that's just like people's bias and their memories kind of malfunctioning and just misremembering that they actually lost more games, or if there's actually an inherent issue in how rank is gained and lost. I'm gonna guess that it's probably a mix of both, where people are definitely over exaggerating situations, but I'm also gonna guess that there's definitely times where you're gaining or losing a number of rank that doesn't really make sense based on the situation, right? So we've talked about, performance-based MMR in the past. I don't really think performance-based MMR is the solution, but that's going to lead me to my next point, which is Smurfs need to be addressed, right? So Smurfs are a problem. They always have been a problem, and they always be a problem until Valve does something about it. So there's a few things I'd like to see happen with Smurfs. First of all is, well, I'd just like to see them banned, and I'd like to see the wording, very clearly that Smurfs are not allowed. I mean, it's already against the terms of service, but that doesn't stop people. You can also report people for smurfing in-game. Honestly, I've not seen anyone actually banned for smurfing yet, right? So I'm sure that some people do get banned for smurfing. I just haven't really seen it. So I just like for Valve to take a strong stance on it. Now, a few ways that they would have to, make it a little bit harder would be to have some sort of like phone number system where you need to verify your account in order to queue with a phone number for the ranked matchmaking. That could alleviate the issue. Honestly, I don't really know what the solution is for Smurfs other than just like taking a clear stance and banning accounts for it. And also, especially for people that are doing it publicly, right? Like if you're streaming yourself smurfing or if you're making YouTube videos, etc. on a Smurf, I think that should be, just clear ban, pretty easy to handle. Now, the other thing about Smurfs is if there are still Smurfs that make it through, because you're never going to get rid of 100% of the Smurfs. I think that Valve needs to have some sort of way to detect Smurfs a little bit faster and rank them up faster. They already get ranked up decently fast, but I think one of the things that can be leveraged in Deadlock specifically is the inputs, right? So for example, if a brand new account is doing a bunch of like instant air dashes, edge boosts, all these advanced movement techniques, I think you can pretty safely say that that player is not actually new, or it's very unlikely that they're new, right? Like, it's not impossible, but I would be willing to bet that all of these metrics can be used to determine how new a player is with a fairly high degree of certainty. Of course, there's always Smurfs that are going to be able to manipulate the system, and it shouldn't be explained exactly what they're measuring. And we know that they are tracking these things like number of wall jumps, etc., because we saw it in a data mine, like I think, 6 months ago. We just don't know why they're tracking them. But I think that this would be a great way to make use of that data, and also like a great way to just rank up Smurfs a little bit faster. Now, my next point that I would love to have is draft. Now, I think draft is kind of low on the priority list for me, but it would feel good to have draft if we have a ranked mode. So this point kind of goes into, I think draft should only be enabled if we have a specific ranked mode. So right now, the ranked queue and the unranked queue are basically just one queue, and every game you play is ranked, quote unquote. So if we separate the queues again, I would love to have draft in ranked mode specifically. And I think in unranked mode, you don't really need to have draft. You can keep the same system that we have right now, where you can just, queue whatever heroes you want. And in the ranked mode, when we have draft, that way that'll allow people to feel like they have a bit more control over their ranked wins. And I think that would alleviate some of the frustrations, because if they go play an unranked game and they feel like they lost because of draft, well, they can just go play ranked and have a bit more control over it. Now, I don't really think draft is going to change that much, because I think you're still going to get a bunch of terrible team compositions and people that are just going to want to play one or two heroes, which is honestly reasonable. Like, a lot of the time people just want to queue their one hero, and that's okay. So it's a little low on my priority list, but it's something that would be nice to have. Now, bans need to be revisited. I think that, first of all, only having 2 bans per game makes it feel like your ban never actually matters. So I would do 2 things. First thing that I would do is I would make the amount of heroes banned per game 4 rather than 2. We have a total of 38 heroes in the game, and so I think having 4 heroes banned is reasonable. That still leaves 34 heroes playable. And that's also going to alleviate a lot of the super broken heroes being in every game. I think that's going to make it so you don't see those heroes as often. Now, on top of that, I would also change the way that bans actually work. So I believe some other games like Marvel Rivals already have this system, and maybe even Overwatch last I played. But I would just make it so bans are something that's voted on by the players as they get into the game, right? So you load into the game, and then your team votes on 2 bans, and the most popular options are banned, right? So you just vote together as a team. So that way you feel like you have a little bit more impact, and it's not just like a RNG, like, oh, does my ban actually do anything? Right now, the UI of the ban, honestly, is so small and insignificant that half the time I don't even notice if my ban did anything, and I completely forget to just adjust my ban and do anything regarding to it. So I think doing something that would incentivize people to interact with it would already be a lot better. Moving to 4 bans, as well as making it so it's a vote-based system, would be really good. Now, a simple thing that I think really needs to be added, I mean, it's been like 2 years that this game has been playable, and I think it's super easy to add, is an accept match button. Like, please, I just want a button where when I queue into a game, or when I queue, before I get into a game, it'll just ask me to accept it, right? This will solve a couple of issues. First of all, sometimes I just want to queue and then, go to the bathroom or get some water or something like that, right? That'll solve that, because right now, if I do that, I have to be afraid that I might get into a game. And also, it'll make sure that people don't have an excuse to just pause the game, 30 seconds into the game and just oh, this guy's AFK, this guy went to the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. We're all annoyed when it happens and you get into the game. So just give us an accept match button, right? That solves the issue of a lot of issues, and it's really doesn't seem complicated. I don't see why there wouldn't be an accept match button. Now, placements. If we go the route of having separate ranked and casual queue once again, I think the ranked queue should come with roughly 10 placement matches that are worth, let's say, 2 to 3 times a regular match as far as their change in your rank. I've seen a lot of people ask for a rank reset. I think that would be a terrible idea, because a true ranked reset, which I don't think is what anybody wants, but a true ranked reset essentially makes it so that anybody can play against anyone. So what that means is that you would get a world in which brand new players would have a chance, no matter how small, of playing against literally Eternus 6 players. And I think that that is the fastest way to get those players to never play the game again. And I really don't want that. So I don't think you go a full ranked reset, but I think placements would give people that feeling of okay, if I play really well in these placements, I can rank up significantly and hopefully it can impact my rank, as well as making, the balance of the ranks a bit more, I guess, according to their standards. Now, this next one is a little bit tricky, because I don't know if we have the player base to sustain it at the moment, but I do think eventually this will need to be an option, and it's the solo queue only option. So I think right now when you queue, you can get paired against duos, you can get paired against 6-stacks, no matter what, even if you're solo. I think that if you're queuing solo, you should have an option of only playing with and against other people that are queuing solo. Now, this will probably lead to longer queue times, but I think that if you're playing solo and you're playing with a bunch of parties, it can feel less fun because, one, the laning stage in Deadlock is always a 2 versus 2. So if you're playing solo versus a duo in the lane, it inherently feels very difficult to win because they're going to be more coordinated, more communicative with each other. They're going to have like a game plan. They might even be playing a lane pairing that is good, whereas you're just with some complete random person you've never interacted with who's playing whatever hero they want to play. So I think having a solo only option will be good for the health of the game down the line. I think it's time that we get a pre-match strategy phase. Now, I would say about 60 seconds. For the pre-match strategy phase, I mean, I think the main thing this could include is it could include some bans, for example, like I mentioned, right? It could include draft. Now, if it includes draft, obviously it would need to be longer than 60 seconds, but you get my point. But what I really, really wanted to include is lane assignments. Right now, there's almost every game, at the beginning of the game, someone pauses and there's lane swapping left and right. And I'm like, look, you know, I'm totally down for you to play whatever like lane you want to play with. I'm totally down for you to play with your friends, but I would like to play the game and not be permanently paused. So if we have a strategy phase, that way people can figure out lanes beforehand. It can be like, okay, we can go this lane, this lane. It'll also make it so that lane pairings are more intentional rather than accidental. And I think that that's going to be really good for the game, and it's going to help, you know, drive the meta and innovation as well. And it's going to help make the game feel a little bit more competitive. Now let's talk about hero MMR. So hero MMR is essentially when you queue a new hero, or like you technically you have arrows on your profile. So let me show you guys what those arrows look like. So per hero, you either have a green arrow or red arrows. So you can have 2 green arrows, you can have 2 red arrows, or you can have 1 red arrow. So basically, all that this means is that, you know, the matchmaker with a green arrow thinks that you are better at this hero than your rank. So if I'm Eternus 6, for example, on Victor, I've got 1 green arrow. So the matchmaker thinks that if I'm playing Victor, I should be put in a slightly higher ranked lobby than my actual rank because it thinks I'm better at Victor than my rank. Now, in theory, that's a good system. However, it's very nebulous and it doesn't really feel like it does much. Now, I'm not sure how to exactly fix this, especially since there's no roles in Deadlock. Like, one could argue, oh, there should be a rank per role, but Deadlock has no roles really. It's extremely fluid, especially in matchmaking. So I'm not really sure what can be done to remediate this. Now, one of the last things that I'd like changed is related to the ranks themselves. And this is specifically a selfish change for Eternus. I think that the Eternus 1 through Eternus 6 thing doesn't really make sense. And I think once you're Eternus, your rank should just be a number. Meaning, when you go on the leaderboards, you should just be like, oh, I'm rank 95 right now, for example, right? So instead of saying I'm Eternus 6, I should just say, yeah, I'm top 100 or I'm top 50 or whatever it is, right? And I think that makes way more sense than having Eternus 1 through Eternus 6, because at some point, it doesn't really mean as much as it did. Now, I don't know how many people are in Eternus right now, but I kind of think that Eternus should be like the top rank with only maybe, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 people per region in that rank. And so it could be handled similarly to the Immortal medal in Dota, which is basically just once you get Immortal, you just have a number, right? So you can be low Immortal, which would be your rank like 4,000 or 5,000, or you can be top Immortal, which means that you would be, you know, 18,000 MMR or whatever it is, and you're rank 5 or rank 10 or something like that. So I think that that would be a better way to handle it, as it would be more understandable, I guess. And I think the ranks in Deadlock in general have kind of like are kind of hard to follow. There's a lot of ranks in the first place. Is that a good or bad thing? I'm not really sure. I'm not an expert in that regard. But overall, I do think that they're a bit confusing. Now, that's pretty much it for my wishes for the ranked system or the matchmaking update. If there are any, oh yeah, actually I forgot one because I was about to end the video, but one thing is like, please Yoshi, let me choose my region. I should not have to use a third-party software just to avoid being sent to European servers. I get good ping to Europe, so it's not a ping issue. It's just I don't want to play in Europe most of the time. The games in Europe for me are less fun, so I'd rather play in North America. So just let me choose my server, right? Right now I have to use a third-party software just to block off European servers to ensure I don't get them and to ensure I get games on North American servers. And half the time I don't do it because I'm too lazy, so I just end up randomly being sent to Europe or randomly being sent to NA. It's very unpredictable, and I don't like it. Now, that's truly it for my thoughts on what the matchmaking slash ranked update. Now, most of these thoughts are basically just on ranked, right? If you guys have any thoughts related to matchmaking or ranked, please put them down below in the comments. They're probably actively working on this update based on what Yoshi said, so I'm sure that they'd love to hear your thoughts. So put them in the comments, and if not, put them on the forums, right? At least put them on the forums so the developers can see it. They're very active on the forums. They're always reading the forums, so make sure you post it there. It's the best chance you have at having an impact on how the game is seen and having your voice heard, and they definitely read it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.